Russia spent over a year trying to outflank Lyman, building a bridgehead west of the Zherebets River, grinding forward, bleeding for every kilometer, and then Ukraine deployed an electronic warfare bubble and drove straight through their northern flank in a single operation, 3 to 5 kilometers, before a single Russian drone could reach the attacking columns. This is the story of how Ukraine just threatened to collapse an entire Russian bridgehead in less than a month, and why the technology that made it possible is changing the fundamental mechanics of this war. To understand what happened here, you need to understand what the Lyman sector has represented for over a year. Russia's goal was encirclement. By establishing and expanding a bridgehead west of the Zherebets River, Russian forces were working to outflank Lyman from the north, to cut off Ukrainian supply lines, force a withdrawal, and open a corridor deeper into Ukrainian-held territory. The obstacle was the Ukrainian Third Army Corps, one of Ukraine's most capable combined arms formations, and critically, one built around deeply integrated high-capacity electronic warfare units embedded directly into the core structure. For over a year, that integration held the line. Russia could not break through. But something shifted in Ukrainian planning. Commanders recognized that the Russian bridgehead, after more than a year of static fighting, constant attrition, and supply pressure, had become structurally vulnerable in ways it hadn't been before. Russian armored vehicles cannot reliably cross the Zherebets. Russian artillery support has been steadily degraded by Ukrainian counter-battery operations and persistent reconnaissance. The bridgehead is supplied primarily through a narrow northern corridor where the river is shallow enough to cross. And that corridor has been under constant drone and artillery pressure for months. In short, Russia had built a position it could barely maintain. Ukraine decided to cut it off entirely. The attack came from the north through the area around Rydkudub. The choice of axis was deliberate. Superior road infrastructure there meant Ukrainian mechanized forces could move fast, faster than Russian defenders could organize a coherent response. Armored vehicles would penetrate through the outskirts of the village, then advance along 2 tree lines providing partial cover from Russian observation. From there, forces deployed into forested areas between Nov and Katerinivka, used as concealed infiltration routes into both settlements simultaneously. Support package, FPV drones, artillery, and coordinated reconnaissance systems. But the decisive factor wasn't the route or the vehicles. It was the bubble. Ukraine's Third Army Corps deployed an electronic countermeasure field around the attacking columns. A jamming envelope that rendered standard Russian FPV drones almost completely ineffective. When the assault began, Russian operators found their primary defensive weapon simply wasn't working. Signals disrupted, drones unable to acquire targets. To counter it, Russian units had to switch to fiber optic guided drones, immune to radio jamming because they communicate through a physical cable. But they require significantly more preparation time, more setup, more complexity in the field. That transition time was the window Ukraine needed. And it's worth pausing on what this reveals about the current state of drone warfare more broadly. For 2 years, FPV drones have functioned as the dominant tactical weapon on this front. Cheap, fast, effective against armor and infantry, available in enormous quantities. They have fundamentally altered what mechanized assault looks like. The EW bubble doesn't eliminate that threat permanently. It delays it. But in a fast mechanized assault, delay is all you need. 3 kilometers gained before the first drone arrives is 3 kilometers that now require a costly counterattack to reclaim. Geolocated footage confirms Ukrainian armored columns advanced 3 to 5 kilometers before the first Russian fiber optic drones reached the attacking groups. In one verified clip, a Ukrainian BTR-4E infantry fighting vehicle takes a hit, but only after it has already completed its mission and is moving back toward Ukrainian lines, having successfully offloaded its infantry. The vehicle was already on its way home when it was struck. That single detail tells you everything about how this operation unfolded. The attack achieved its objective before the defense could organize. The infantry was already in position. The ground was already taken. Subsequent footage shows Ukrainian soldiers moving through the tree lines and establishing positions in the contested zone, while Russian drones attempt, too late, to engage them. Russia's official narrative collapsed almost immediately. State sources claimed 80 Ukrainian soldiers killed in 30 minutes. Russian military analysts told a different story. And then it emerged that some of the footage used to support Russia's claimed defensive success was from battles fought in the summer of 2025. Over a year old, presented as current. The gap between Russia's official account and the battlefield reality was visible even to sources inside Russia. Now, step back and look at what this operation actually demonstrates, because it's bigger than one bridgehead. What Ukraine deployed at Lyman is an offensive application of the same electronic warfare doctrine that has been reshaping the defensive front for months. The EW bubble that protected retreating convoys, that disrupted Russian drone corridors, that made the air defense privatization scheme irrelevant, is now being used to shield attacking armored columns moving into Russian-held territory. The implication is significant. If electronic countermeasure fields can be deployed offensively, protecting mechanized forces long enough to seize ground before the defender's primary anti-armor weapon can be brought to bear, then the tactical calculus of breakthrough operations changes fundamentally. Russia's most effective counter to Ukrainian armor in the open field has been the FPV drone. Ukraine has just demonstrated it can neutralize that counter at will, for long enough to seize 3 to 5 kilometers of fortified Russian positions. And the strategic consequences compound that significance. The Lyman bridgehead represents over a year of Russian investment, casualties, equipment, engineering work, supply expenditure. Collapsing it doesn't just free up Ukrainian forces in this sector. It invalidates that entire year of Russian effort and potentially opens pressure vectors that Russia will have to respond to by pulling resources from elsewhere along the front. If Ukrainian forces successfully sever the northern supply corridor feeding the Lyman bridgehead, all Russian troops west of the Zherebets face a binary choice: retreat toward the river crossings under fire, or remain in increasingly unsustainable positions dependent on aerial resupply, against a corps specifically built to defeat aerial resupply. Either option is a loss. The first concedes the bridgehead, the second courts encirclement. Russia spent over a year building this position. Ukraine may be on the verge of collapsing it in weeks. And the weapon that made it possible isn't a new missile or a foreign supplied tank. It's a signal, a jamming field, an invisible bubble that moved with the attack and made Russia's drones blind. That is what changes when a defensive electronic warfare capability becomes an offensive one. The same technology that protected Ukrainian positions for 2 years has now begun protecting Ukrainian attacks. And Russia, for all the fiber optic adaptation it was forced into on this single day near Ridkudub, does not yet have an answer for a threat it can't see, can't target, and can't outrun. The bridgehead is not gone, but the clock on it just changed.